What happens when freedom fades and survival becomes the only law? Imagine being trapped not just by steel bars and concrete walls, but by something far more sinister, something that crawls in the shadows and whispers your name when you're most alone. Tonight we delve into a story that will make you question what's real and what's a nightmare you can't wake up from. Marcus wasn't a hardened criminal. A single mistake, a moment of poor judgment, and suddenly he was facing 5 years in a facility known for its crumbling infrastructure and eerie silence. The first few weeks were a blur of routine and isolation. But it was the nights that truly began to unravel him. The prison was old, and he expected creaks and groans from the ancient building. But this was different. Every night, like clockwork, long after the final patrol had passed, he would hear it. The soft, rhythmic tread of footsteps echoing down the long, empty corridor outside his cell. He would press his ear to the cold steel door, his heart hammering against his ribs, but there was never anyone there. The guards swore they never patrolled that block after midnight. They called it the Dead Wing for a reason. Then came the whispers. Faint at first, like the wind whistling through a crack, they snaked their way through the ventilation system. His name? Marcus! It would hiss, a dry, chilling sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. He tried to convince himself it was just his mind playing tricks, the stress of incarceration finally breaking him. But then inmates started to disappear. It began with old man Hemlock in the cell 2 doors down. One morning he was just gone. His bunk was made, his few belongings untouched. The guards said he was transferred, but there were no records, no paperwork. A week later, a young man named Leo vanished under the same mysterious circumstances. No alarms were ever triggered. No struggles were ever heard. It was as if they had simply ceased to exist. Panic began to fester in the block, a silent, creeping dread that was far more terrifying than any open conflict. Marcus knew he was next. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, no longer just his name, but promises of release, of freedom, if he would just open his mind to them. He spent his days frantically searching for a way out, any weakness in the prison's old design. He finally found it. An abandoned laundry chute in a disused storage closet, sealed shut with rust and neglect. With a piece of metal he'd sharpened over weeks, he worked tirelessly, his fingers raw and bleeding, to pry the chute open. One moonless night, with the whispers calling to him from the vent like a siren's song, he squeezed his way into the darkness. The fall was jarring, and he landed in a pile of musty, forgotten linen in a basement he never knew existed. He wasn't free, not yet. He navigated a labyrinth of damp, subterranean tunnels, following a faint draft of air he hoped would lead outside. Instead, it led him to another section of the prison, one that didn't appear on any of the official blueprints. The air was frigid, and a strange metallic smell hung heavy. He found a row of cells, identical to his own, but these were different. The doors had been welded shut from the outside. Peering through the small food slots, he saw they were all empty, but the walls were covered in frantic scratch marks, and on each door a small plaque with a name: Hemlock, Leo, and dozens of others he didn't recognize. Each name was methodically crossed out with a thick red line. A sickening realization washed over him. This wasn't a prison. It was a laboratory. He wasn't a prisoner serving a sentence. He was a test subject in some horrifying, unseen experiment. The footsteps, the whispers, the disappearances. It was all part of the design. He wasn't escaping punishment. He was escaping an observation. Some nightmares don't end when you wake up, they just change their shape. If this story sent a chill down your spine, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have many more dark tales waiting in the shadows for you. Thanks for watching and stay safe.